Conversation. A conversation I titled today as we continue our long series. Just, hey, billionaire farmer, good evening, sir. Today will not be long. We can chart, Maois. Today's conversation is strength is in focus. Strength is in focus. Strength is in focus. And I am taking this from one of the conversations my Oga Simon and the billionaire farmer said yesterday in passing. You know, when they were speaking, for somebody who is probably young in our Greek, you may not have been able to capture or get what they said in passing. I will rephrase what my Oga said yesterday. When my Oga was speaking, that's the billionaire farmer. He said one of the things he noticed in Kano when speaking to a lot of traders, and when we say traders, I'm talking about small companies, I mean people that do things in millions and billions annually. He said the person said that you can make money with anything. You can trade anything and make money. However, you should not try to do everything. You need to focus. And another way for me to explain that is, if you look at when you were young as a baby, you were doing all the subjects in the world. What were all the subjects in the world? Maths and English. That was all the subjects you were doing, because in kindergarten you were taught ABCD, you were taught 1, 2, 3. That's technically all the subjects, right? But you notice that as you begin to grow, the proof of growth is focus. As you begin to grow, you no longer do all subjects. When you get to SS1, I don't know if it's still the same method, they will now ask you, do you want to be an art student, a science student, or a commercial student, right? Basically, what they are saying is, how do you want to focus your growth? So, if, for example, you say you want to be a science student, you drop things like commerce, you don't do things like commerce, government, literature, accounting, bookkeeping, and so on and so forth. Then you get into university year 1. You know, in your year 1 in university, it feels like advanced secondary school, because you are practically doing all the subjects you did in your SS3, just that they have better coded names. So instead of just calling it physics, maybe you hear physics 101, physics 201, and so on and so on, or 101, 104, 105. Instead of English, you hear use of English. You hear funny names, but it still looks like you are in secondary school, in quotes. By the time you are getting to your 300 or 400 levels, you notice that some of the courses that made you look like you are not in university, you start dropping them off. Such that by the time you are entering your final year, you are now more focused in whatever you are doing. When you decide to say, I need to further my degree and do my master's, you notice in master's, you are not doing everything in the course. There is now a bit more focus. Again, when you finish master's and you say you want to do PhD, at the level of PhD, there is again more focus. So maybe in your master's you were doing daga, but still in the same department. In your PhD, your focus is a lot more, so that in PhD you are knowing so much about a little subject. In primary school, you knew so little about a lot of subjects. In primary school, you know so little about a lot of things. At PhD level, you know so much about a little thing. It's like using your hammer to hit a nail. You know that for that nail to be driven in, there needs to be focus. The same way, for you to cut a tree, there needs to be a focus where the cutlass or whatever you are using keeps cutting. If you come to a tree that is maybe 10 meters long and you are just hitting the tree, any part of the tree you like every day, you can cut that tree for a month and it won't come. There is focus in my cutting. You want to slaughter a cow and you just take the knife and today you cut here, tomorrow you cut here, next tomorrow you cut here, you cut there, you cut here. What you then notice is because there is no focus in your cutting of the animal, rather than being able to actually achieve, keyword, rather than being able to achieve the killing of that animal, you end up injuring the animal. Am I right? You end up injuring that animal because there is no focus in what you are doing. You are hitting here, hitting here, hitting here, hitting there, hitting there. So before you know what is happening, you are injuring that animal rather than doing what you really wanted to do, which is cut the animal, sacrifice the animal, and use it for whatever you needed to use it for. Are we still together? Focus. And you see, one of the biggest demons, if I call it demon, one of the biggest things that can happen to you in agric is getting opportunities that take you out of your focus. Because if you are going to do well in agric, you must understand your part, not to focus on opportunities that takes you out of your part. I think it's a Chinese proverb also that says that the best way to distract a man with vision is to show him another vision. The best way to distract somebody with vision is to show the person another vision. So if the person gets a new vision, that new vision distracts them from their original vision. Their original vision was to buy a phone. But on getting to where they would buy the phone, they see a fine remote. They are like, ah! Because a man of vision needs a stronger vision to distract them. A man of vision needs an opportunity in an area that they are not going to distract them. And if you are going to grow, that was what my Oga Billionaire Farmer was trying to say yesterday. Because you see, there is this temptation of, oh, I am growing pepper. Oh, Pastor Deji, good evening, sir. I am growing pepper. Then you now heard, guess what? Onion is now expensive in the market. Instead of you to focus on your pepper and grow in your pepper, what do? The farmer quickly finds a way to start growing onions and probably stops the pepper. And the problem with that is you have allowed opportunities to take you out of your path. You have allowed opportunities to take you out of your path. Because the easiest way to distract a person with a vision is you give the person another vision. You show the person another vision. You show the person an opportunity. Have you not noticed that most of the time, people who tend to make errors around agric, their errors came from latching on supposed opportunities? They left their core strength and entered opportunities. And when they enter opportunities, the problem with those opportunities is it was not meant for them. It was not meant for them. If you need to grow your business, you need to understand the power of focus. You need to understand the power of focus. You need to be comfortable to say, no, I don't know this thing. No, this is not what I do. No, this is not my area. This is where I play. You need to be comfortable with that. You must grow yourself, not your business now. You must first grow yourself to be able to say, oh, this is my area, this is not my area. So that when people come to your area, you have grown yourself to be the best in that area. You have grown yourself to be the best in that area. Remember, a PhD holder in agric, maybe agric genetics or something, has an idea, little idea of other areas. So I'm not saying be blind to the knowledge of other areas, but I am saying let us know you for where you are the pro. Let us know you for where you are the one who is the best. For where that we know that, okay, if we are looking for pepper farmer, call that guy. If we are looking for oil trader, call that person. If we are looking for chewing gum seller, call this person. Let people be able to identify your strength because of your consistency. Let people be able to identify opportunities to call you for because of your consistency. How do I get 880 greenhouses on 1 acre? I'm not sure I understand your question. So, as a farmer, as an agric person, as a human being, focus is key. Focus is key. In whatever it is that you want to build, focus is key. If you are an athlete and you are running, you focus. You don't say because the person on lane 4, lane 10 is running faster, you want to go and join their lane, you get disqualified. You get distracted. Focus. When you focus, focus makes you look like a genius. Focus makes you look like a genius. Focus makes you come across as somebody that is all-knowing, because that is the one thing that you have been doing. That is the one thing that you have focused on. Don't get me wrong. You can use the profit you generate in what you focus on to do other things behind the scene. But in that area where you are the authority, when people need any help, it is you they will call. Let me explain this. I know it's in the Bible, but I can't remember where exactly it is in the Bible, but I know it's in the Bible, where it says, have you seen a man, there is a word he used, not talent, who is something in his work, he will stand before kings and not mere men. I can't remember how that thing was phrased, but I know it was not. Have you seen a man diligent? I think yes. He said, if somebody that is diligent in his work. Diligent, meaning you are about this thing. You are not dilly-dally. That have you seen somebody who is diligent in his work? Diligent in her work. Somebody who applies diligence to what they do. He says, they will stand before kings and not mere men. They will stand before kings and not mere men. And you see, for me, that statement is a whole lot packaged in a way that you might lose the essence of what it is saying. You might lose the essence of what that little statement is saying. When it says, if you are diligent in what you do, you will stand before kings and not mere men. You can lose what that term is, what that little statement is saying, because when it says you will stand before kings, what exactly does it mean to stand before kings? Because as an ordinary person who is not from a royal family, if I run or if I meet the Ooni of Ife, the Olu of Warri, the Kabiyesi of Awowo, if I meet any royalty, what is expected by default is I should prostrate to greet. I will prostrate to greet. A voice of the farmer, good evening, sir. I will prostrate to greet. Because I am standing before a king. And even after you have prostrated to greet, if the king decides to continue a conversation, your head has to be lower. So either my head is bowed or through, or I'm prostrating or squatting or something. Right? But what the scripture is saying is, if you have diligence in your work, you yourself will become a king in the sphere of where you operate. You are also a king in what you do. So he says, have you seen a man who is diligent in his work? He will stand before kings, not mere men. Meaning, there is a time in your growth season where the people you are standing before are mere men. But there is a level of focus you will have that in your growth, you have now become a king in what you do, that when you meet other kings, it has become a kingly conversation. It has become a kingly conversation. And when it says you are standing before king, what does that mean? Because it has become a kingly conversation, it means you now have a seat at the table where decisions are made. Where decisions are made. Okay, if you want to purchase hydroponics things, Google BIC Farms. BIC Farms are in Ogun State. You will be able to get hydroponics things. Somebody's asking on YouTube. So, if there is one thing I am learning right now, one of the things, thank you Prince Ogbona for the gift, one of the things I am learning right now is this, which is funny, is governments do not have bad policies. No government, BIC Farms, yes, Google them, you will see they are in Ogun State, Ashe Oasis, Abeokuta. Government does not have bad policy. I know that sounds weird. You'll be like, somebody might be saying, oh, Farmer Sam has been paid by government. He's now promoting government. Now, you know. Government does not have bad policies. The problem is they only made policies that did not favor you. The policies that they are making favors those sitting on the table. Was it early this year or late last year? I think I saw a post. I don't know if it was Billionaires Farmers page or the finance guru coach or Mr. Okolocha, if I pronounce his name well. I don't know if it was his page. I saw a post where they were showing, I think, the top 5 people, the top 5 or top 10 earners in Nigeria last year that made the most profit in 2025. And they were in billions and billions of naira in profit, and their wealth grew. Because you see, when we are saying, oh, this policy is not good, this policy is bad, this is this, no policy can be passed if there are no beneficiaries of that policy. Thank you, sir. Malga said 2019, Rice Band favored him. No policy can be passed if there are no beneficiaries of that policy. The issue is, if you are not on the table, then whether or not the policy favors you is dependent on luck. And we don't run businesses based on luck. You can get a win based on luck, but luck is not a strategy in business. What am I saying in essence? You can see that focus does not just grow your business. Focus does not just bring you to stand before kings. Focus gives you a chair on the table. Focus gives you a chair on the table. Beyond that, focus puts an authority over you. When you are able to focus and you are becoming a master, those at the top would happily want to be your cover because of your ability to focus. So when you are saying, oh, I want mentor, I'm looking for mentor, I need mentorship, this, blah, 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 and so on and so forth, the real question you should be asking yourself is, what is the degree of my focus? What is the degree of my focus? Am I at primary school level, kindergarten level, secondary school, junior secondary school, senior secondary school, BSc, MSc, PhD, or professorship? What is the level of my focus? Because again, like I said in one of my other classes, your mentors are not there to give you a vision. Your mentors are not there to help you find a dream. No. So your level of focus is what will determine who picks you up and act as a cover. Because the reality is, before you get a seat, there is somebody on that seat who is your mentor that will recommend and say, create a space for this guy. Create a space for this lady. Focus is key. Focus is key. Let me look for another example. There is this guy on Twitter, for those that are on Twitter and they love football, called Poja. Poja is a photographer. Only God knows, or I'm sure some people that follow him better than myself, knows when Poja started his camera work. He's a football person. He's a football person. He started by first shooting Nigerian leagues. And I mean, at times I will see in your mind, I'm like, well, I mean, who is watching Nigerian league that you are giving us pictures, you are giving us this, you are giving us this. Then at some point, I think he now got license and he could go into where Super Eagles are training, where they are having matches. So you will see a lot of pictures of Super Eagles. That's behind the scene pictures, training and all of that. He was great, but because there was focus. Then during this AFCON, I was happy to see that he was one of the accredited photographers for AFCON. Focus. Last week, or was it this week, when Galatasaray played, what's his name? Atletico Madrid in Champions League, he posted happily for the first time a Nigerian photographer. Okay, let me not say, I don't know if it's the first time a Nigerian photographer, but for the first time, Poja covered a Champions League match. Growth. But that growth will not be possible if there is no focus. That growth will not be possible if there is no focus. So the reason why that he is able to move from snapping Nigerian League to Champions League is there was a level of focus proven by consistency, dedication, and all commitment put into it. If there is focus, so you see, because they are like, oh, this is, if you have focus, at some point it will speak. You cannot focus on one thing and be building knowledge and you will not grow. The biggest issue we have had is we have lost the ability to focus. Because of social media, it is easy to see people post their wins without telling you their struggle. It is easy for you to see people post their win and you think that it is easier to win there than where you are. And you leave what you have built halfway to go and restart from scratch in another person's area. Then things go wrong. Then you start thinking, no, this Greek is hard. No, there is a need for focus. There is a need for focus. So, fellow young persons, all I am saying is, if you want to get to the point of authority, focus. 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 If you want to get to the point of authority, bring in focus. Very important. Focus. When you focus first, and let me also say this, in the realm of focus, it is not your shoot that shows up first, it is your root that goes downwards first. In your realm of focus, it is your root that goes downwards, not your shoot that shows up first. As a farmer, you know, I said anybody can learn from this, but I will use farming analogies a lot. If I am growing tomatoes and my neighbor is growing plantain and the billionaire farmer is growing cocoa, the three of us are not going to harvest at the same time. So you need to understand that the fact that you are focusing does not mean we are going to get result at the same time. How quick we get our result is dependent on the largeness of the vision. Someone that is hoping to be the best farmer in Ewekoro local government, Ogun State, we get there with the same tenacity as his colleague. We get his vision established first than somebody trying to be the best in Ogun State, than somebody trying to be the best in Nigeria, than somebody trying to be the best in Africa. Do you get what I'm trying to explain? If somebody is driving from Ogun to Lagos, your arrival will be faster than the person driving from Ogun to Benin Republic. So your arrival time depends on the bigness or the largeness of your vision, assuming we all put in the same level of consistency, the same effort, the same dedication, the same knowledge. Two, which I also need you to understand, when you plant a tree, you do not get the fruit immediately. So that you do not get discouraged and say, oh, I was told to focus, I've been focusing now for 1 year, but nothing to show. No, your roots will go deep. As the roots are going deep, all we are seeing is nothing. There are no fruits. All we see is nothing, no fruits. We can see leaves, we can see stem, but there will be no fruits. If you give up because you are not seeing fruit, then you will lose out on the possibility of fruiting. Good evening, Olamide. You will lose out. So, as a young person doing business, first is we need you to focus in building your roots, build your knowledge, build your internal capacity. Build your internal capacity. As your focus begins to show forth, you would realize that you are getting better and better at that single thing. Your knowledge is improving, you are evolving, you are getting better. I said, by the time your focus has grown, your focus will first make you stand before mere men. Then, according to the scripture, as you become a king in what you do, your focus will now make you stand before kings. First, it brings you to mere men, brings you to palaces, then makes you stand in palaces. Then that focus will now give you a seat on the table, so that when decisions are being made, you are one of those who is able to make decisions. You are able to make policies or influence policies. You are able to say, okay, let me look for an example now. Let me use my, I don't know, I've overused Billionaire Farmer. Let me see what else can I use on this live that I know what they are doing. I don't even know how to check. I thought this was Twitter that you just click and names will show up. I wanted to see who I can use, but I can't think of somebody to use. But you get what I'm trying to explain. Let's say, for example, you are a food seller. Oh, thank you, Excel Farms. Good evening, sir. Cucumber farmers, for example. The cucumber farmer, now by the time Excel Farmer becomes a king in cucumber industry, he can go and he can sit to government and say, see, let's only give import license to 2 companies to bring in seeds. Meanwhile, those 2 companies is saying you can bring in seed, and the 2 companies he has told, for every seed you sell, give me 10 naira or give me 5 naira. Which means even if his farm is not working, just because there is a policy that has been enacted, you see, that only these 2 companies are bringing in seed, he starts to make more money just because of that. Or it might choose not to even come from that angle. He might say, okay, the angle I want to come in with is there are too many people growing cucumber anyhow that I don't like. Let's enact a policy that for you to be a cucumber grower officially, you must belong to Cucumber Association. of which he is already a member. So, with that, he is now part of those making policies for Cucumber. But obviously, he is not going to make a policy that will take him out of the process. He is not going to support a policy that is detrimental to his own growth, that is detrimental to his company's growth, that is detrimental to his own finance. No. This is how policies work. All policies that are made are good. There are people that became billionaires when they said, let us go do cashless policies. There are people that made money when parallel market was established. There are people that made money when fuel price jumped. That it did not favor you does not mean everybody is in the same boat, is all I'm trying to say. That it did not work for you does not mean it's not working for everybody. This is why you need to grow in business. This is why you need that growth. This is why you need to focus and grow, because when you focus and you grow, two key things. When you focus and you grow, what happens is you have a seat on the table. You have a seat on the table. And having a seat on the table now means, because I'm still going somewhere, having a seat on the table means you don't need to you are not, how do I put that? When you have a seat on the table, you are not trying to please the government in power, rather the government in power tries to please you. Because you are the guys on the table. The guys in power knows that we have either 4 years or 8 years, our power is not permanent. But the people on the table are almost like permanent. Because when they are leaving, they will bring their own people. Malga from Lawrence, good evening, sir. When they are leaving, they will bring their own people to take over. Am I making any sense? Which means at that point, it's not a question of who should I vote for. It becomes a thing of they are the ones saying, oh, let us get your approval that you will be willing to work with them because of focus. So as I round up, all I am saying is, let me summarize everything that I have said in few minutes. As a business, as a businessman, as a businesswoman, the key to your growth is focus. The key to your domination in business is focus. The easiest way that you can be distracted from your vision is by being given an opportunity outside your vision. The way to distract a man of vision is to give him another vision. And a lot of people get distracted this way. I gave the example or the analogy of when you were in kindergarten, you were doing all the subjects in the world, which is math and English, A, B, C, and 1, 2, 3. But the proof of growth is you are no longer doing all the subjects. You focus on a few subjects, but you know it so well. That is the proof of growth. So, the proof of growth is not knowing everything. The proof of growth is knowing little about everything, but knowing so much about one thing. That when it comes to that one thing, you become an authority. The primary school child or the primary one child knows all the A, B, C, D, and 1, 2, 3. They know everything at their level. The PhD holder does not know everything about every subject. But there is a topic or a subject where they know so much, they are an authority. That is the difference between the child and somebody who has grown. Focus. And I said, when you begin to focus, just like the Bible said, it says that, have you seen a man diligent in his work? Somebody that is focused, somebody that is dedicated. Yes, a focused fool, thank you, is better than a distracted genius. Exactly. The Bible says that, have you seen a man diligent in his work? He will stand before kings and not mere men. And I explained, I said, you see, when you are just starting your agricultural journey, you are standing before anybody, mere men. They don't even remember you. You are just part of the crowd. I said, you see, but as you begin to grow in your focus, you get an opportunity to be invited to the palace. But that is not the end of the conversation. The conversation is you will stand before a king. The only reason you can stand before a king is because focus has made you a king in your own right. So only king stands before kings. So when you become a king in your own right, you are now able to stand before other kings. You see how this thing works. And I said, when you have grown your focus to the point where you are a king in what you do and you are standing before kings, what then happens is an authority will speak for you to create a space for you on the table so that you also have a chair where decisions are made. And to make that make sense, I said, there are no bad government policies. Government does not make bad policies. The only problem is the policies that are made did not favor you. But the people that the policies are meant to favor are benefiting from that policy. Because for any policy to be made, there are those on the table that will deliberate. And if you are lucky, it helps you, fine. But I also said, you see, luck is not a business strategy. Luck is not a business strategy. So, as somebody in business, I want to grow to the point where I have a seat on the table. And I concluded by saying, when you now have a seat on the table, you now become any government in power, Ajib. Because you are not trying to lobby for a particular government to be in power. Rather, whomever wins election needs you to succeed. So once they win, they will find a way to familiarize with you because you are the table. Whomever is not on the table, their business is the menu. So this is where we stop today. I hope we learned a thing or two on the power of focus. I said we need to know that not every opportunity is our opportunity. Not every opportunity is our opportunity. Not every opportunity is our opportunity. Knowing that helps a lot. Knowing that helps a lot. Thank you for joining. If there is any question, if not, I will end the live. For those that just joined, it's available on YouTube. You can just search for us on YouTube. I recorded it on YouTube. You can watch it there again. The power of focus, like Maurice Pham said, which is very true. And a focused fool is better than a distracted genius. Power of focus. It is focus that helps us grow. It is focus that helps us grow. It is focus that helps us grow. Okay. Thank you, everyone. The Real Viking, thank you for joining. Udeke Praise, thank you. Facebook.